Well, I think that murals, street art, and graffiti are all necessary. And I feel that each one of them serves their own purpose, right? And I also feel that they're all connected, right? Because we're all still creating works in public spaces. We're all making a decision the same way as, the difference between me painting on a wall for 6 months compared to a graffiti artist coming in and painting for 6 hours, right? We're all still thinking about location. We're all still thinking about who is walking through that space and who will see this work and how will they be impacted, right? My name is Michelle Angela Ortiz. I am a visual artist, muralist, and community arts educator. And for 17 years, I've been doing work in public spaces, working directly with different communities, and using public art as a way of presenting stories and narratives.
So my name is Aubrey Costello. I am a silk graffiti artist, so I'm a fiber artist here in Philly. I primarily work in silk and chiffon and create large-scale messages in fabric out on the streets. It was a really, really late night, hot summer night in my old studio. I was feeling very restless, kind of making work traditionally, and I wanted to be a little bit more spontaneous in my work. And I just took a bunch of nails and the silk and I went outside my studio. There was a really long corridor, like a blank wall. It was a very rough space. And I just took a strand and started writing with it and like nailing it into the wall. And it was a way for me to really marry all of those things, this kind of domesticated, very historically feminine act of working with fabric, but then trying to write graffiti in it. So it was like this nod to a woman's work, and then also bringing that to this public street art space, this graffiti space.
I feel that what's exciting about doing work in public spaces and in communities is the fact that you're not going to get your curator or the regular gallery goer to be passing by. I think that that's what makes it really amazing that someone the same little girl that I was walking down the street and not being exposed to art in a more traditional setting, to kind of walk by and see a story, and also see a story that relates to you, that relates to your own personal experience, is really powerful.
I appreciate the gallery setting because it's a clean, quiet space to look at the work. It's a different interaction, but I'm more excited by the spontaneity of finding a piece of art on the street. It's just a different rush and a different experience to put it out there and to know that anyone driving by, biking by, walking by can stumble across your work. I've hung work at 2 a.m. I used to try to do things really late. Then I got braver and just hung in the middle of the day. But it's one of those spaces and platforms where I see how being a white woman can make it a bit easier for me to hang my work out in the middle of the day, broad daylight, somewhere illegally. So for me, it's something I don't take for granted. I realize there is a privilege there, and I have a responsibility to kind of talk about that a bit more.
Y ahora tratar de conquistar con buen afán este tiempo perdido.
My mantra since my last few projects have been, how can I be poetic and powerful, right? And I think that I've always been very aware of space and who transits that space and who claims that space as their own, and also being really aware that I'm a visitor in that space, even in my own neighborhood. My other project, which was Familias Separadas, which was all about stories of deportation. And it was really about bringing forward each individual stories of 5 different families and how they've been affected by deportations. And instead of having it only in the communities where the families resided, it was important for each one of these pieces to be in very big, open, public spaces where many different people were passing by. So City Hall, Love Park, and it was a huge installation that I did on 16th and Callow Hill, which is where the Immigration Customs Enforcement building is. And the work that I'm doing, there's a large responsibility in representing the narratives of different communities. And I understand that because in my own personal artwork, meaning in my studio or my smaller paintings, I'm talking about my own family experience. I'm talking about socioeconomic inequalities that are very much connected to the reason of immigrating, but also my own perspective as a woman of color, right? And so there's things that I feel that I found the value in telling my own story and the story of my family very early on, that I feel that is then projected in the work that I do in public spaces.
Historically, I wouldn't say my work was overtly political, but I think most art arguably is. My common themes with my work really are just reflecting the times. I'm quite literally collecting words from the mouths of people speaking around me, something I hear on the street or something I hear on the radio or something I read in the paper. So I think because I'm reflecting the times that I'm living in and I'm trying to digest it in such a way with my work that I guess it is political in that space. So when I put that out in the streets, I'm hoping that if anything, when someone interacts with it, it helps them to just slow down and take a second in this very fast-paced world we live in right now, just to slow down and mull something over.